Although I probably shouldn't complain about weather when you've just made a movie where you're literally in a blizzard in a car. But I don't want to give obviously like too much away about Centigrade. But I was just interested in the research you did for this role, and if you were able to speak to anyone associated with the real set of events that this is sort of miraculously based upon.
I had a very hard time defending the fact that we didn't break the window. So I was like, why aren't we breaking the window? Within the first 10 minutes, me, Genesis, I would break the window without question. And they had to show me a lot of pictures of what kind of snow we were under and what happens to the snow and the ice when it freezes over. And I really didn't understand it until I went to Norway and I saw Planet Hoth. That is snow. It is walls of ice that we're talking about that they were under. It would have been really impossible just to break out and walk out of there. So that was the kind of thing I had to wrap my head around, but there really was no preparation in this other than the diet. And because, yeah, you can be told, yeah, go in a freezer, that's where you're going to shoot. But once you live in the freezer while shooting a movie, that's a totally different experience than even thinking or preparing it, I mean. The diet worked on me for sure. I lost so much weight so quickly that the fatigue and the slowness of things happened and occurred naturally. But the scariest thing about this role was the fact that the scenes were being written kind of as we went. We knew what was going to happen, but the dialogue and stuff we needed to figure out. The first scene I shot was a 14-page scene that I had gotten maybe a day before. So it was terrifying. As an actor, I love my lines and I overstudy them and I like to know my beats and my actions. It makes me feel safe and that way I'm able to be free. But this was actually the opposite. So what happened was instinct. My instinct as an actor took over and that was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So it was beautiful that it was shot in chronological order because the fights that would happen would just live in us and we would bring it to the next day. And the fact is that this couple lived in this fight. They couldn't get up and out of this car. They had to live and breathe the fights they were fighting. So it was awful and it wore us down. It did something to us psychologically for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say it sounds like me and my wife in lockdown, but I realize that's probably quite hard.
That way it is though. Like we're all going through something in this pandemic and I feel like this is a very relatable movie because we all feel trapped.
Yeah. So it's interesting you said that it kind of brought out a different side to your acting because obviously it was like you said you like your kind of the structure and the kind of the safety net I suppose of having lines and the kind of and that sort of thing. Do you think this experience has changed you as an actress? Do you think going into other projects you're more fearless now than maybe you were before?
Yeah, I'm not scared to fail as much anymore. I think this I needed this because I'm so anal and so married to my lines. Now I'm able to just trust my body and work a little bit more with freedom in that sense. And not only that, I mean, just the experience in itself to go through it, just have that little grain of perspective of what it's like to be trapped in a car. It really makes you grateful for the bed you sleep in at night and the fact that you could stretch your legs, that you could eat whatever you are craving at the moment. Those little things, you need those reminders to be able to be grateful in life. So it was great. It was a great, fulfilling experience.
Yeah, because you obviously mentioned what the two characters had to go through in that situation and the kind of how they had to live in those arguments and in that sort of small space. What did that do to your relationship with Vincent? Because I guess, do you think you've kind of formed quite a special bond, maybe more so than other kind of actors and actresses you've worked with before? Because even through the prism of your characters, you've had to go through something quite unique with him. And do you think that's created quite a unique bond, would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, the level of trust that we had in each other and the fact that we were both going through this together, It gives you, you know, and the fact that we didn't have a cast to hide behind. It was just he and I. So it was like, it was the scariest experience for both of us. But when he felt, you know, insecure about something, I was like, no, that was great. That was this, that was that. No, I feel like that was the right moment. And he would do the same for me. So it was an absolutely wonderful experience to share with someone that you trust. You develop a trust there that I don't think any other project could give you.
Because I interviewed him yesterday, and he was so lovely and genuine, and just got the sense he was a very kind of like very intelligent, very genuine person I really enjoyed speaking to. That must help when you are stuck in a car with someone, that it is someone as generous as Vincent seems to be as an actor.
Yes, absolutely. He's a very generous actor, and we just wanted to do the best work possible, and Vincent was the best partner to do it with, for sure.
How do you reckon you'd cope in real life? What's as because I'm one of those people that even in lifts I feel a bit claustrophobic. How do you think you would have fared in a situation like this?
Oh my goodness. I'm a claustrophobic person in real life as well. So I had a hard time. Sometimes I would get overwhelmed and I would say, I need a break. I need a break. And I would get out of the car and I would just walk around and try to catch my breath because it was so hard to work in that car for so long. But what kept me sane was like, Jen, this is bad, but the people in this car were not able to take breaks. And it helps to have that perspective, the fact that people went through this and they didn't have a choice whether to get out of the car or not. So it was a really gratifying experience all around. I would do it again. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
But despite saying that, it must have been quite exhausting for you in the sense that because every day you were going to work and you had to get yourself in the mindset of someone who was facing their own mortality, you know, and I think that's a terrifying prospect for us to get our heads into just for 5 minutes, never mind doing that for what, like 3 weeks or however long this kind of shoot was, or you know, it could have been longer. So but by the end of the shoot, did you almost feel like you'd just had this big sigh of relief? Were you almost quite pleased, despite how gratifying an experience it was, that the shoot was over? Because I guess it must have been quite nice to go back to your own mind for a change.
Totally. I agree with you that I think we need to have kind of those experiences in order to be able to be grateful for our lives. That movie worked on me for a while. It stayed with me. It was emotionally taxing. It was very hard conditions. It wasn't an easy one to shake off. It wasn't something that I could say, oh, well, it's over, it's done. No, like it really stayed with me for a while. And I think, you know, God forbid we don't have these encounters where we're experience or come face to face with our own mortality, but sometimes, you know, those experiences make you grateful for the life that you have. So I am grateful for that experience. It gave me a little taste, and especially with what we're going through collectively in this pandemic, it just puts things into perspective, and things could be a lot worse, you know, and we have to remember that. And if we could escape and watch these people for, you know, an hour and such, and remember things could be a lot worse, maybe it'll be a little bit easier. And we try to chase those little moments, those happy little wins. That's what I hope we accomplish with this film.
So my final question before I go was, have you been in a car since, and what's that like?
I have not been in that car since, and I have not eaten a cashew. I cannot stand cashews. I did grow an appreciation for chocolate. I wasn't a very big chocolate person before that movie, but now I am. Maybe that has something to do with it. It was just like the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. But cashews are like, I can't even see them. They give me the heebie-jeebies. But
what about a chocolate cashew?
I don't think I could do it. That car though, I think about that car and I have back pain, like just thinking about it. I got very bad back pain shooting that movie. So I'm not looking forward to being in that kind of car for a very long time.
No, well, luckily there won't be a Centigrade 2, so you probably never have to speak to that car ever again.
No.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Janice. It's been a real pleasure, and best of luck with the release and everything you've got coming up.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey!